Ever feel like you're just scrolling endlessly, trying to find your people online, but it just leaves you feeling kind of more isolated?
Or maybe you're searching for that real connection, the one that feels like home, not just another ping on your phone.
Yeah, you are definitely not alone in feeling that. Welcome, everyone, to the deep dive. Today, we're really plunging into something that affects pretty much all of us, the fascinating and pretty complex evolution of digital communities.
Yeah, we're going to unpack how these online gathering spots have changed.
And crucially, how those changes really impact you.
That's right. Our mission here for this deep dive is really to explore that intersection, where technology, human psychology, and these big cultural shifts all meet, and how they sort of redefine what it even means to be connected online these days. But more than that, we want to help you reflect a bit. Think about how you show up in your digital spaces and whether those places are actually supporting your growth, your well-being. It's really about being more intentional, isn't it?
Absolutely. Intentionality is key. And we're drawing insights today from some really great source material, specifically the evolution of digital communities, building connections in the online world. It's just packed with rich insights into this whole journey we've all kind of been on. So, okay, as we dive in, let me just ask you this to get started. What was your very first online community? Like, really think back. And what drew you to it? I bet it looked quite a bit different from the apps and sites we use today. So let's trace that path, right? Looking at the then versus now of how these communities have evolved. Think back to the early internet. Those wonderfully messy, unfiltered spaces,
Yeah.
sometimes anonymous.
Oh, yeah, the Wild West days.
Totally. We're talking about, those early PHP-BB message boards, maybe IRC chat rooms, AOL chat.
MySpace, Orkut, early Reddit.
Yeah.
Clunky sometimes, but alive.
Exactly. And the vibe back then was just so clearly, I'm here because I love this thing, this topic.
Right. You joined because you were obsessed with a band or a book series or some niche game.
And nobody cared about your profile picture, really. It was all about your contributions, what you said.
It's fascinating how that just fundamentally shifted. Platforms like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, they completely changed the game. It really moved from let's talk about this interest we share to something much more like look at who I am.
The performative aspect.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Personal branding took over,
Yeah.
ushering in this whole culture of performance and comparison. And suddenly, social validation, the likes, the shares, the comments, it became the metric, the currency.
But now it feels like we're seeing another twist. Almost a swing back towards depth, maybe, which is really interesting.
It does feel like that. A move back towards smaller, more intentional communities, often driven by shared values or a specific mission.
Like those private Slack groups or Discord servers or even newsletters where the comment section is really active.
Or paid communities, right? On Substack or Patreon. These places aren't really about being popular.
No, it feels like they're more about genuinely feeling understood, finding your actual people.
And if we zoom out a bit, the psychological and social implications here are pretty profound. Remember how in the early days, you'd often just stumble upon these communities, almost by accident, exploring links.
Yeah, you just be clicking around.
Now, it's mostly algorithms.
Right.
Or follower referrals, influencer shoutouts guiding you. That's how you discover communities.
Which leads to that performance pressure we talked about.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You find yourself curating everything, every post, every story, every comment. It gives you more control, sure.
But maybe less spontaneity, less authenticity.
Precisely. Less spontaneity. And a potential downside we're seeing is how these curated communities, they can sometimes become quite insular.
Like echo chambers?
Kind of reinforcing specific worldviews, maybe unintentionally discouraging dissent or different perspectives.
That really brings us to a key point. Think back to those early 2000s forums. Or, I don't know, who else spent hours customizing their MySpace page? Finding the perfect glitter text, that emo song.
Oh, definitely. Guilty as charged.
We joined those places because we were just obsessed with something specific. A band, a book, a game. Nobody really cared who you were outside of that space, only that you cared about the thing.
That's the core shift, isn't it?
It is. It's not just what we connect over, but why. It feels like we've almost traded that wild, passionate chaos of the early web.
For a more curated, performative stage.
Yeah, a stage for personal branding.
That's a really powerful way to put it. And digging into that, we definitely see this clear trend away from the massive general purpose networks.
Like Facebook or Twitter.
Right. Towards these more intimate focused digital communities, it seems like users are actively seeking, quality over quantity depth over just being visible.
So why? Why are these niche spaces becoming so important now? What are they offering?
That's the key question, isn't it?
Exactly. Because these niche communities, they offer something pretty unique. They often provide shared values or really specific goals, think of, like accountability circles for writers or maybe groups focused on a spiritual practice.
Or safe, inclusive spaces for dialogue for specific groups, like LGBTQ plus communities or neurodiverse support circles online. That's huge.
And they can offer incredible access too, like access to expertise or insider knowledge you just wouldn't find elsewhere.
They're seeing platforms really enabling this, right?
Totally. Like Substack, where writers are building communities around their ideas, Patreon, where creators build these micro communities for their most engaged supporters.
There's Geneva popping up as a community-first alternative,
Yeah.
and Discord, of course, which has gone way beyond gaming.
Oh, yeah, Discord is huge now for creators, educators, all sorts of tiny niches.
And the reason why niche matters so much, psychologically speaking, is that these smaller, more focused groups offer psychological safety and emotional resonance.
Feeling safe to be yourself.
Exactly. Members feel safer to be vulnerable, they're more engaged, often more respectful because there's a real alignment with the group's purpose. And they know their voice is actually heard, People today really want to feel seen, not just counted as another user.
Yeah.
In these smaller groups, every voice carries more weight. Contributions feel meaningful. They don't just get lost in a flood of posts.
And you see these examples popping up everywhere now. It's genuinely exciting. Like maybe a Discord book club specifically for women entrepreneurs mixing self-development with networking.
Well, those ADHD TikTok circles where the comment sections sometimes feel like group therapy. It's quite amazing.
Right. Or a climate action Slack group for Gen Z activists connecting globally to plan things, support each other.
The core takeaway seems pretty clear.
Specificity leads to solidarity. That's it.
Yeah. In a world where algorithms often just want everyone to go viral, the real magic seems to be happening in these smaller rooms. These are the spaces where you don't need the perfect caption, You just need a real conversation.
That search for belonging, it's so primal, isn't it? It makes you think. As you're listening, reflect on your own journey. What's a community, maybe even an online one, that has made you feel truly understood?
It really does tap into a core human truth, doesn't it? Belonging is basically a survival instinct. We're just wired to seek validation, shared identity, mutual support, whether that's face-to-face or online.
And online communities can deliver that feeling incredibly quickly.
Yeah, like a fast, low-friction version of acceptance. You get that little dopamine hit from a like or a positive comment.
And here's the rub. Is that truly belonging? Or is it just digital applause?
That's the critical distinction.
Yeah, that's the real challenge, isn't it? The difference between projecting a persona and having a true presence.
Because online platforms often reward the performance, right? The polished posts, the filtered photos, the carefully curated opinions.
Which can lead us to present this idealized version of ourselves.
And that creates some real problems. You can end up forming superficial bonds. People connect with your image, maybe, but not your actual truth.
You can get trapped in those echo chambers we mentioned.
Right, because you're kind of incentivized to just say what your community already believes, to fit in.
And then there's just the sheer emotional burnout. Constantly performing, keeping up appearances. It can be absolutely exhausting. And isolating, ironically.
Where is real belonging? True connection. That requires vulnerability. It requires friction sometimes. The ability to be messy and imperfect.
So, okay, here's something practical for you, the listener, to think about. Next time you're about to post or comment or join a digital group, just pause for a second. Ask yourself, am I trying to build a real connection here? Or am I mostly just shaping myself to be accepted?
That's a powerful question.
And maybe use this mini checklist for reflection. Do I feel safe enough to be imperfect in this space? Have I actually shared something real recently, not just performative? And how do I feel after engaging here, energized or drained?
It really comes down to this. We often join online groups hoping to be known, truly known. But sometimes we end up only being seen through filters and personas, real belonging. That comes when we stop performing and actually start participating with honesty.
Now, let's shift gears slightly and talk about the technology itself. Because it's really this double-edged sword, isn't it? It's an enabler, but it can also be a divider.
Absolutely. On the positive side, tech has democratized access to connection in ways that are just incredible. It lets people join communities based purely on interests, not just where they happen to live.
Yeah, geography becomes less of a barrier.
And you can engage asynchronously, which is invaluable for people in different time zones or with different work styles, or maybe for neurodiverse individuals who process things differently.
And it really amplifies diverse voices too, especially from marginalized groups who might not have had a platform otherwise.
Think about it like a teenager in Kenya joining a coding Slack group with peers in Silicon Valley.
Or a single parent in Brazil finding vital support for raising autistic children through a WhatsApp or Telegram group.
These aren't just conveniences. For many people, these connections are absolute lifelines.
There's always a but, isn't there?
Always the flip side. The very same tools that bring us together can, paradoxically, also isolate us, or manipulate us, or spread misinformation.
We see algorithmic bias, right? Where platforms optimize for engagement, keeping you scrolling, not necessarily for truth.
Yeah, so they show you content that just confirms what you already believe, which leads straight into...
Filter bubbles, echo chambers.
Exactly. Where you only hear beliefs that align with your own, your world effectively shrinks even though you feel connected.
And then there's the darker side, online harassment, often fueled by poor moderation or the misuse of anonymity.
And, of course, misinformation. How easily false or misleading stuff can go viral because it's shocking or emotional, distorting reality for potentially millions of people.
It's a really sobering thought. Like, consider Instagram. The algorithm might show you travel influencers who look just like you, dress like you, seem to think like you. But what are you not seeing because of that curated feed? Has the technology actually expanded your world, or has it maybe inadvertently shrunk it into a mirror?
Technology definitely promised to connect us all. In many, many ways, it really has delivered on that promise. But it's always worth asking ourselves, are we truly seeing the world through a wider lens thanks to tech? Or are we just seeing it through the lens the algorithm thinks we want?
That's a crucial question.
And as more of our relationships and interactions move online, we've had to develop almost a whole new set of rules, haven't we? Like unwritten social norms.
Yeah, to convey tone and intent and emotional nuance when all you have is text.
It's actually remarkable when you think about it. Like emojis, they've become essential, emotional punctuation.
Totally. Softening a critique, signaling sarcasm, adding warmth.
Or even something like seen or read receipts on messages. They carry enormous emotional weight now, don't they?
Oh, absolutely. They can be interpreted in so many ways. Benign neglect, passive aggression, outright rejection.
And comment culture, too. A well-timed like or a thoughtful, supportive reply that's often the online equivalent of a friendly nod or a handshake.
The big challenge, though, is building genuine trust without all those physical cues we rely on offline.
Right. Offline, trust is built through eye contact, tone of voice, body language, shared presence. Online, well, we have to work harder, be more intentional.
So how do you build that trust online? What works?
Well, consistency seems absolutely key. Showing up regularly, reliably.
Not just dipping in and out.
Exactly.
Yep.
And active engagement. Don't just broadcast your own stuff. Comment on others' posts. Ask thoughtful questions. Support people.
Be part of the conversation.
And transparency. Being honest about your intentions, especially in those smaller niche communities where authenticity really feels like the main currency.
That makes sense. So trust in these digital spaces isn't built overnight or in a single comment.
Not at all.
It's built through those consistent small interactions over time. You could almost think of every emoji, every reply, every DM as a kind of digital handshake.
That's a great analogy.
So maybe here's a little challenge for you, the listener, if you're up for it. Optional, of course. Pick one digital community you're part of this week and try one small thing. Leave a truly thoughtful comment on someone's post. Or maybe start a new thread. Ask a genuine question.
Or even just DM someone a sincere compliment or a thank you for something they shared.
Yeah, and then just take a moment afterwards to reflect. How did that simple act change your sense of belonging in that space? Even slightly.
Little actions can make a big difference.
Okay, so after exploring all of this, how do you actually choose the right community for you? It's easy to get drawn in by big numbers, right? Lots of members.
The vanity metric.
But quantity definitely doesn't equal quality. We'd really encourage you to assess a community based on a few other things, like its engagement depth. Are people having real back and forth interactions, or is it mostly just people broadcasting?
What about values alignment? Does the overall tone, the sort of core principles of the community actually resonate with you? Does it feel right?
And clarity of purpose. Is the why of the community obvious? Is it meaningful to you?
A really practical tip here is just to lurk first.
Yeah, good advice.
Spend some time just reading the threads, observe how members talk to each other, get a feel for the place.
And if it feels like a room where you'd actually feel comfortable speaking up eventually, then it's probably a pretty good fit for you.
And once you're in a community that feels right, think about how much impact you can have just by contributing meaningfully. Being a passive consumer, just scrolling, that isn't really community, is it? Reciprocity is absolutely key.
Giving back as well as taking.
Precisely. So when you join, maybe introduce yourself with something real. Not just your job title, but perhaps what you're hoping to give to the group, or what you're struggling with, or hoping to learn.
Be a bit vulnerable.
Yeah. And don't be afraid to start threads. Ask those genuine questions you have. Share helpful content if you find something relevant. And crucially, make that effort to support others. React to their posts, comment thoughtfully, celebrate their wins with them.
It really feels like digital communities thrive when we shift from just scrolling
to actively supporting. From lurking in the shadows to actually lifting others up.
And finally, what if the community you're looking for just doesn't exist yet?
Then maybe you're the one to create it.
Exactly. Building your own digital tribe. It sounds daunting, maybe, but you don't need a massive audience to start something powerful.
Not at all. You just need a clear intention, and maybe a few people who believe in it too.
So the first step is just clarifying that purpose. What problem is this community going to solve? Who is it really for? Why will it matter to them?
Then you pick a platform that fits. Maybe Mighty Networks if you want something structured, perhaps with courses. Discord if it's more chat-heavy, interest-driven.
Or Circle or Slack for maybe more professional groups like masterminds.
And really importantly, set the tone and the norms early on. Create simple, clear guidelines about respect, curiosity, contribution, how you want people to interact.
And start small. Don't feel pressured to grow fast. Invite maybe 5 or 10 initial people you know would be a good fit. Grow with intention, not just urgency.
So throughout this deep dive, we've really tried to illuminate this incredible journey of digital communities and hopefully provide some useful insights on how we can all navigate them better, seeking out that genuine connection in our increasingly online lives.
And as we continue to build more and more of our lives online, it really is worth asking yourself, are you just sort of existing in these digital spaces? Or are you actively shaping them and your participation in them so you can truly belong and thrive?
That's the ultimate goal, isn't it?
It really is. We encourage you to reflect on your own digital footprint. Think about which communities truly serve you, nourish you, and consider what kind of digital citizen you aspire to be. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive today.